Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to twitch.tv/Ice Cream Uploads. It's pre 10:30 a.m. and clearly that's having an effect on Bibby as he rubs his eyes. Well, what is
That's bad
this?
timing, really, isn't it?
Welcome in. It's 10 a.m. ish, and we are live on twitch.tv with a scoop. My name is Graham Day, and this man that's rubbing his eyes at the exact time I need him to is the man that we call.
Hello.
I'll read. I've just seen something completely distracting. I'm going to drop it in the chat, which is completely irrelevant to the stream or anything. Feel free to not click it. As I looked at Twitter as we were going live, I've just seen a video of a bear flicking some stick thing around in his hand. No one. Prologue. Do you know what? Fuck it. I'll show it on the screen rather than reading it out, just so that those watching get to see what it is without clicking away. It's just a bear doing like loud, flicking a stick around. It's basically someone saying mimicking the weapon, like the knife flicking around on CS:GO. But there you go. Anyway, completely off topic. Welcome in. If you are in the chat, please feel free to say hello. Please feel free to click on that link. You don't have to. It's a complete tangent, but there you go. That's what you get on Ice Cream Uploads. And speaking of Ice Cream Uploads, my name is Graham Day. This is Baby. We together are Ice Cream Uploads, and in true Ice Creamy fashion, this is the Scoop, which is your daily dose of news from the world of video games and beyond. And some may say this is the UK's #1 video game podcast, and I won't argue with anyone that would want to say that because I completely agree. Anyway, we're going to give you our thoughts and impressions on the biggest, the best, and the breaking stories from the world of video games. And we want your thoughts and impressions on our thoughts and impressions so we can create a little bit of a backwards and forwards. And it's important that you do create that back and forth because we turn this into a YouTube video and an audio podcast that goes on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, and Google Play. So please feel free to use the opportunity to get involved in the chat on behalf of everyone else watching on demand a little bit later on. Just like Chappers has done this morning. He's used one of our exclusive subscriber emotes that sounds a little bit like this.
Hello.
Hey. How's things, babe?
Yes, good. I'm just loading my GOG launcher up so that I can fling all of my games in there at once. So I was saying to you before I went live, people have been complaining for a while about having 1,000,001 different launchers. However, if you've got the GOG launcher, it brings absolutely everything into one. So if you wanted your PlayStation, your Xbox, your Epic, your Steam, your Uplay, all of that can go into one nice little launcher. So I'm just logging in with all my stuff now.
Show off. Do you know, for a
Well,
long time, I thought GOG was Microsoft because games with gold or whatever, or games on gold. I always thought GOG was games on gold. I didn't realize that GOG was its standalone thing until about a year ago or something like that. Maybe even less than that. I don't know what the GOG launcher looks like, but there you go. There you go. Did you get it to last
nice.
night? You still prepping for the house
Uh,
move?
I saw a little bit, but I ended up playing the PES 10v10 last night. We had 2 league fixtures, so I played in that. We won one and lost one. We won with Bayern Munich, which is our first team, and then the second team, you have to pick a completely different one, and it has to be international, I think. So we ended up going with Belgium. On paper, very, very strong team. However, defensively, not the best. And we ended up playing against Portugal, who obviously have Cristiano Ronaldo and in form Bernardo Silva, and then Bruno Fernandes as well. So it was a very tough game. We ended up being 2-0 down in the 90th minute. We scored again to make it 2-2 in the 93rd minute, and then ended up conceding a 94th minute winner. So that was a
Oh,
laugh.
gutted. Gutted.
But that was the story of my evening. How about yours? Was yours any better?
It's chilled evening. Unscheduled PUBG stream, 20-minute hit session, which almost wrote me off. Jacket potato, cheese and beans for tea, and then sat down and watched United. Just give it all away in the last second, being a man down. Ooh.
Yeah, I seen the Goldbridge memes this morning. They never get old.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too bothered with that. Being a man down. I mean, Southampton were a decent enough team throughout the whole game. Still in our hands. All we got to do is beat Leicester and win the rest of the games, and we still finish top 4. So check it out.
I'm not crying, you're crying.
Morning, Chucky. Hey.
Come on, mate.
I'll read. Anyway, let's jump into the news. We have quite a bit of news to cover today, only because we didn't cover all of the news yesterday. We spent a lot of time talking about the Ubisoft Forward conference yesterday, which meant that we pushed some of the stories from yesterday into today's show, and it's a good job that we did because it's a little bit of a snow lose day or a slow news day. One of those as well out there today. So it's a good job. It's a good job. Chapper says, got a meeting, so I have to dip again, but we'll be back shortly. Well, that's not good enough. You tell your meetings that you're listening to the Scoop Chat. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Enjoy the meeting. See you soon. Who is this? This No One Pirate? This is a name that sounds familiar, like it used to join in the Scoop, but I don't know what it is anymore. A No One Pirate. What is that?
Stay frosty.
Hey,
No one
okay.
karate.
All
I miss
forgiven.
your faces.
We miss your face too. Number one pirate, thank you very much for the 9-month subscription. All right, beautiful. All right, darling. All right, darling.
Hello,
Edit.
cheeky.
Let's jump into some news. Let's jump in. First story of the day. You may have seen Ashram Uploads tweet this last night. PS5 pre-order latest as Amazon placeholder goes live, but without the PS5 price. So the PS5 pre-order pages could be going live soon with a new Amazon. That's completely thrown me off. Thank you very much for the host as well, Pirate. Thank you very much.
Hero status confirmed.
Goddamn right. Goddamn right. So the PS5 pre-order pages could be going live soon with a new Amazon placeholder now available, and hopes that the big PlayStation 5 price reveal could be coming next. This is written by Gary Jones for The Express and was published at 12 minutes past 2 this morning. Bloody hell, Gary. Excuse me. A nice Pepsi burp there. Was that for cake for anyone? Fans are hoping to learn more about the PS5 price this week. Following news that an Amazon placeholder page has gone live. The new PS5 Amazon section does not contain anything new on how much the console will cost, but it does come with a lot of other prior information. Plenty of news has been shared regarding the new games coming with the launch, but gamers are still waiting to find out the price of the new Sony console. The good news is that might be changing this week with the new Amazon pre-order page going live. An earlier leak suggested that a big PS5 reveal was being worked on for this week by PlayStation. Some of that news was shared by Roberto Serrano, a leaker who previously correctly revealed the rescheduled date of the PS5 event before Sony announced it. It was believed that Sony wouldn't hold an event to announce this news, but would instead reveal the major PS5 announcement in a PlayStation blog post. While this hasn't surfaced yet, there's a chance something like this might be happening in the coming days or before the end of July. It's believed in August a new State of Play will be broadcast detailing more on first and third party games heading to the PS5. One of the titles that is rumoured to be getting a showcase is a Silent Hill reboot, which allegedly will be exclusive to the PS5. While we may also get a Final Fantasy announcement from Square Enix, possibly a Final Fantasy 16 reveal, or the first look at Part 2 of the Final Fantasy 7 remake. It has taken Sony a long time to announce its full plans for the PS5, with the design of the console only recently confirmed. A message from Eric Lempel, PlayStation's head of global market and consumer experience, explained the situation, adding, "Coming out of PlayStation 4, all of the success we've seen and the fans' passion for the brand, we really wanted to make sure we delivered strongly with PlayStation 5. As we've said many times, PS5 is a truly next-generation console. It's a leap ahead, and we want to wait for the right time when everything lined up. And I think, and I hope, that fans saw we had a great mix of content from our partners and our studios, and that we delivered on expectations. What I'm really happy about is that this time around, there are a larger number of independent developers who are also going to be with us around the launch timeframe." So you saw some of those today. The Pathless from Annapurna, Bug Snacks, from Young Horses, and then a franchise that goes back to the first PlayStation with Oddworld. We have Oddworld Soulstorm from Oddworld Inhabitants. It's great to see how far that franchise has come and how it will be introduced to a whole new generation on PS5. And there we go, end of the article. So a lot in there. Obviously, we're going over a bunch of other rumours within that. The main headline is that the PS5 pre-orders, the placeholder page for the pre-orders at least, has gone live. There is no pricing details on there, just that the page is there. Feel free to keep hitting refresh, by the way. That's pretty much what I've been doing for the last 12 hours or so. But that has gone live. Bib, what are your thoughts?
Yes. I think they've done this for the state of play, haven't they? Ideally, because they've put the page up now, so that when the state of play potentially finishes, they can go and the price is, and then whatever the price is going to be, and it's pre-orders are now live globally, and people can just go over to the Amazon website. All the details are already there, listing the games that we've seen in the last state of play, and everything else that goes with that. So I think that's the reason why they put that ahead now. Every single news outlet that's to do with games has put their own news article out about this now. So the amount of clicks and traffic that has been directed to that page has probably blown them out of the water, really. But yeah, I think they've done that purely for the next state of play, so that they've got something there for you straight away.
I saw some absolute weapon last night. So when I first saw that the link had gone live, and we put it out on ice cream, I saw other people doing this the same sort of thing as you would, obviously, fresh news. And someone's like gone, there's no price there, and someone responded to one of the links that I saw saying, yeah, there is. The price has been revealed already. And someone else had a video like taken off screen with a mobile phone, going, look, whatever. And the price in it says £689.99, and I was thinking, fuck. But it was only when people in the comments started to call it out, saying you could tell that you just edited that in source because it's got like reviews on the product page, which how can someone review a product that hasn't been sold yet, and blah blah blah. And this person was like, yeah, I was just joking. And it's like, you fucking weapon, absolute pillock. Just not only throwing out a price that's stupidly high, to cause, I mean, that causes negative shit. If someone reads that and instantly goes, well, it's 700 quid for a PlayStation now, fuck that, I'm not going to buy that. Your joke for the lols and the bans is just having a negative impact on people that are wanting any form of news. But anyway, yeah, it's not £689. I mean, it could be, but it's not confirmed. This was just a pillock. So I have seen that price being mentioned a few times this morning as well. So that person having a joke and getting found out pretty quickly, despite it being found out in his bubble pretty quickly. It's
been taken as gospel.
Yeah, exactly. Some people have taken it and ran with it, which is daft. Good morning, Mr. T, Tassim Anvia, noted industry leaker. Not to be confused with Asim Tanvir, by the way. I mean, good guy, that guy. Let me Tassim Anvia. Ooh. It says Silent Hill reboot. Yeah, I did kind of think that as well. Can already register your interest on Shop 2 if they and they contact you to ask you if you want to turn it into a pre-order once price is announced. Amazon have done the same thing as well, actually. Not on this page, but about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I think I sent you the link, maybe, Bib. But yeah. like there was just a button at the top of the page that says register interest. So I did the same thing on Amazon. And went that way. I just assumed, boop, okay, that's going to work for me. And then I saw this come up. I thought, well, I didn't get fucking notified. I've registered my interest.
Was it the Shop 2 one that you could like register for a penny or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. I saw Asim mention that on social. Maybe not outwardly, or maybe it was, but I think he was having a chat with someone and he mentioned it, or maybe he said it in the soup. Actually, I can't remember. I know that it's been mentioned before. But yeah, Pirate says, can't wait to put his pre-order in for his PS5. Goddamn.
Yeah. I'm buzzing for it.
Yeah. Asim says, can already register your interest on Shop 2 and they contact you to ask if you want to turn it into a pre-order once price is announced. Do you know, I might just do that as well, just to cover all bases. I mean, my plan was to get it from Amazon and then use the Amazon Smile. If anyone doesn't know what that is, by the way, if you purchase things off of your browser, rather than using the Amazon app and stuff, which I most often use the app, to be fair. Well, I'll order on the go. But if you ever purchase something from the browser, go to smile.amazon.co.uk and you can select a charity you want. So mine is set up special effect. So if I buy anything, a percentage gets sent through to Amazon. Doesn't cost me any more. It's the exact same site and everything. It's just you have to go to smile.amazon.co.uk for it to be registered as like charitable donations, and you basically select your charity. And I've set up mine to donate to special effects. So if I go onto amazon.co.uk, I get a little pop up in my browser now going, you do realise that you can buy all of this from smile.amazon.co.uk and we'll give money to charity. So I do that. So make sure you do that. I mean, I mean, you don't have to, but if you want to give to charity without doing anything, then that's a good way to do it, especially if you're spending a chunk of money on a console. Then, you know, that's a nice chunk of money that could go to charity rather than to Jeff Bezos. But there you go. Says the man who's streaming on Amazon-owned Twitch. There you go. Sorry, Jeff. He's my boss now, pretty much. Morning, Dad and Lad. Hey, if an iPhone is worth 1K, so is a PS5. I mean, that's what we've said quite a few times. I've seen a number of people going 600 quid for a console. Are you daft? There's no way I'm spending 600 quid. It's like you've got a £1,200 iPhone 11 in your hand. That's 2 PS4s. You can get a PS5. That's a PS5, isn't it? and an Xbox Series X that you're holding in your hand.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. I mean, not that I want to spend that much. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I would prefer to spend 300 quid, but it's in terms of value for money. I seem to mention it before, not just on the video games side of things as well. The industry is kind of stuck 20 years ago. The pricing system hasn't really moved on for 20 years, which is why I've had a few articles recently saying games either need to be shorter or cost more because there's only so much bending before it snaps and businesses start going out of businesses because they can't hold the cost and so on. For PlayStation and Xbox, obviously because they sell games as well as consoles, they can absorb some of the price. But yeah, 600 quid for that amount of technology. It's backing, mate. Well, it is compared to the rest of relative industries. I said, yeah, best way pirate for the bands they could reveal something around the Xbox event. I mean, I thought that as well. Like, where is the bit within this article? It's an earlier leak suggested that a big PS5 reveal was being worked on for this week by PlayStation. And I thought, why this week? I mean, we've had this day for a couple of weeks now, as this is not this week as such. Next week, should I say, being the Xbox event. So why are they putting it in this period? Xbox has said since 2 months ago that they were looking at July, and it's either going to be this week or next week, really in July, that they'd be putting the content out. We kind of even loosely guessed at that a couple of months ago. So for PlayStation to be having something going out just before the Xbox stuff or just around the Xbox stuff to take some of that gloss, some of that shine off it, that's a good move. Also, if they can get pre-orders up before Xbox have started to do something, some people could commit to the sale before Xbox does something. The downside with that though is if they put the pre-orders up and people go, yeah, I want a pre-order for my penny, for my quid, for whatever, just register my interest, and then Xbox go, oh, it's 500 quid. Okay, well ours is 450 or 400 quid. Then that could damage what they're doing there. People might just go, oh, sack it, I've not got that much money, COVID and that, so yeah, let's go for the cheaper console. Because PlayStation obviously did that with the PS4, undercutting Xbox's price same day, and then just absolutely just were gifted E3 and a full generation because of that. Well, also TV helped as well, but yeah.
Well, I'll be going for the one with the disc tray, the more expensive one, I imagine, purely for in the hope that backwards compatibility will become potentially an emulated service, so they can read my disc and then I can emulate the game through it. Because I don't think they'll be able to play like PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3. I don't think the laser on the eye inside the console will be able to read those type of discs. So hopefully, it will be able to just read that I've got the disc, and then I can emulate it somehow. I think that's how backwards compatibility works on the Xbox One when you're playing Xbox 360 games. So they keep on releasing more backwards compatible games. So it's not as if you have to keep on taking your console back somewhere to be able to get a new game to work on it. It's just a system update will happen, and then you're able to play those games again. So I'm hoping that'll be the way forward for us, especially if you play. I know, like a lot of people in here, that will probably play the older Pro Evolution Soccers. The ability to be able to play that on your console with HDMI rather than the absolute shit show that I've got going on here with the amount of wires that I've got coming through my PC to be able to stream that would be an absolute godsend.
Well, speaking of which, nice tangent there. We'll go straight into our next article, which written by Cian Maher for VG247 says Sony patent hints at cloud-based backwards compatibility for PS5. It's almost like Bibby knew that this was going to be the next article there. Wow. So the next bit of news, like I said, written for VG247 by Cian Maher, says Sony recently filed a patent that looks a lot like cloud-based backwards compatibility system for PS5. The patent originally appeared on Japan's platform for patent information website, having been officially filed on July the 2nd. Although the drawings associated with it are captioned in Japanese, the patent description has translation support. And then we go into a quote that says, another trend growing in this industry relates to the development of cloud-based gaming systems, reads said description when translated. Such a system may include a remote processing server that is configured to execute a game application, receive input from a user, and communicate with a local thin client configured to display an image on a display. One of the drawings, which is embedded below, shows a user playing a cloud-based video game according to an embodiment of the present invention. So let's make that. I'm going to say make it bigger. It's exactly this. It's actually even smaller than it is in the article. Nice, great. There are also various other images that appear to point towards cloud-based backwards compatibility. For example, according to the patent description, the picture below illustrates an accumulation of game titles across various generations of a gaming console in accordance with an embodiment of the present invention. As you can see in the image above, launch models for the PS1, PS2, and PS3 are quite clearly the subject for this section of the patent. According to the description, it appears that Sony is attempting to create virtual consoles within a console. It's not too dissimilar to the concept of an emulator, except in this instance, it would be legal and officially supported. It's worth noting that the obvious absence of a PS4 system in this image likely has to do with the fact that the PS5 will already support the top 100 PS4 games. On top of this, new PS4 titles certified after July are required to be PS5 compatible. On the other hand, Microsoft has stated that the Xbox Series X will support all Xbox One games. The patent also mentions a new kind of sharing software that seems to allow players to post gameplay clips to the cloud. The word slicers props up more than once and likely refers to trimmed video clips. It also mentions creating mini games from these slicers, introducing the potential for the game sharing function to be quite significant in the PS5 community. This is especially interesting when you consider another patent Sony recently filed, which featured a device that looked a lot like Xbox Snap. Interesting. Thoughts, babe? As soon as you brought us into this conversation.
Well, this is again is an absolute wet dream. It's very similar to what I mean, I pulled out this article yesterday, didn't read the entire thing, so the title kind of suggested what it is I wanted to talk about, but it kind of goes into the detail that I went into before about the emulation side of things. So it's going to be run through the cloud, so it'll read your disc, and then you'll be able to play it as and when. Hopefully, that'll be for all games. I can't imagine the compatibility rate will be 100%. I imagine they will go, especially with the PlayStation 1 and 2, the amount of games that actually came out for that, not just in Europe, but the rest of the world as well. It will be a long time before we get to see a lot of those games, especially the very niche ones, be able to be played on your PlayStation 5, if that is the case. Again, I would absolutely adore to be able to play older games on just one system. It means that I can officially retire my PlayStation 2. Because I do play it a lot more than I play my PlayStation 4. It's always plugged in. I play it all the time. So if we can get rid of that and just keep it on the shelf rather than wearing it down, it is my day one PlayStation 2. I've had it for over 20 years now. So I imagine it needs a good old rest. It needs to go into retirement. So if I can play it again with an HDMI out on my PlayStation 5, then that is absolute dreams for me going forward.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, do we feel though that those dreams, is there a bit of a dark cloud around it? The fact that it's I mean, I didn't even mean the pun of dark cloud around it. Is the
Yeah.
dark cloud the fact that it's cloud-based compatibility? So
Uh,
so
mm,
essentially the PlayStation itself isn't allowing you to play the games. You're playing those games through the cloud. Does that mean kind of not Xbox Now, PlayStation Now level stuff? Are we going to have any sort of input lag if it's cloud based? So imagine playing PES on the PS2 as you've been doing with your PS5 Master League. Imagine doing that, but through to the cloud. Will it work as smoothly as it would do being native? Is there going to be any issues with that? I mean,
I don't know. I don't know if that is the case though, because in here it says, as you can see in the image above, launch models for the PS1, PS2, and PS3 are quite clearly the subjects of the section of the patent. According to the description, it appears that Sony is attempting to create virtual consoles within a console. It's not too dissimilar to the concept of an emulator, except in this instance, it will be legal and officially supported. Taking the words virtual consoles, I'm going to take that literally, like we have done with the Wii, the Wii U, and the Switch. You kind of, it is kind of in the cloud, but you're downloading the game to be able to play virtually on your console. So it is your console will have an emulator inside it. Like if I was to play, I don't know, if I was to download a PlayStation 1 emulator, rip the games that I've got here, play the backups of those ISOs or the bin and Q files on my emulator. I'm still playing it through an emulator, but it's kind of native at the same time because I'm not pulling that data from anywhere apart from my hard drive.
Yeah, I think it's kind of loose in the wording there because I agree what you're saying there. Virtual console within a console. Um, if it's saying it was that, but they're saying they're attempting to create it, and they're saying it's not dissimilar to the concept of an emulator. So see that as you read out there makes me think, okay, it's coding within the box, but it's I mean the titling. Sony hints at cloud-based backwards compatibility for PS5. That's the bit that makes me think, oh, well, if it's all within it, where's the cloud-based element coming
Yeah.
from?
I think that may come from, like I mentioned before, that I don't think every game will be playable from the disc itself. That would be great if that was the case, but like the Xbox 360, not every game is available for backwards compatibility. I've got a ton of games next to me here that if I was to put into my Xbox One, SmackDown versus Raw 2007, for instance, that doesn't work in my Xbox One. I have to play it on my Xbox 360. It recognizes it as an Xbox game, but it doesn't have the data in whatever process. I don't know how the emulation works in the console. All I know is that there's a compatibility list and it's always being added to with new games. So I'm guessing that data gets pulled from somewhere to say, actually, this game is now available via backwards compatibility. It wasn't 2 weeks ago. We've updated our systems. It is now. You can now put your disc in and play it from that. I don't know if that's part of the cloud element. I would absolutely hate the fact that I've got a native disk and it's still pulling that data from another source somewhere else on the other side of the world. That wouldn't make any sense to me.
Well,
I'd
that's
prefer it the way that the Xbox One are doing it now with the 360 backwards compatibility. Fair enough, they might not all be available on day one, but their list of backwards compatible games are ever growing. There'll be 15 games a month that become more backwards compatible with the Xbox One. If that's the case, then we have to wait a while for the rest of the games to come through.
just jumping back up into the article. Another trend growing in the industry relates to the development of cloud-based gaming systems. Read said description when translated. Such a system may include a remote processing server that is configured to execute a game application, receive input from a user, and communicate with a local thin client configured to display an image on a display. See, that within itself reads as if, I mean, obviously this is all based off of patents and stuff, so it could be anything and everything. It could be Bib saying it's all done on the machine could 100% be right. This is just loose stuff. If you gave everything in the patent stuff, then you might as well just give your whole product away. But that bit as well reads that it's all going to be processed remotely and your inputs are going to go to that and then that's going to communicate that data back to you as well. Mr. Butters, White Treacle, says, sounds like a fancy way of saying an upgraded PS Now. Yeah, that's the thing. It does sound like that sort of technology. At the same time, I mean, it could go either way. It's either going to be on it. Oh, look, there he goes. Modeling the 20-year-old day one.
Well, sorry,
it's not the day one.
Yeah, it's not. This is the 2004 release one because that's when the Slimline started to come out. This one is 16 years old. 16 years old. It's primed and ready. Shouldn't talk like that, really, should I?
That sounds a little bit. Anyway,
it is of legal age now. I'll have you know.
And as we move on very, very fast, so yeah, it's either gonna be done on the console, but yeah, I'm not convinced. I mean, the fact that this is saying a cloud-based solution, maybe it's a bit of both. Maybe some are on the console, maybe others do have to ring out to a server using PS Now, which there's no issue with that in theory.
If you don't have to buy the games again.
Yeah, but I think the issue comes from the fact that I've heard mixed reviews on PS Now. Granted, most of the negative ones come from a while back. Most of the people that are using it now are saying it's actually pretty solid. Jordan does have a negative opinion of PS Now, who's in the chat fairly often. However, Jordan pretty much has Xbox tattooed on his eyelids, so that's understandable. But taking a step away from PS Now, Stadia is another cloud-based gaming solution, and that's not great either. So if those two are to go by, then you're either going to get good stuff or not, which is not what you want to invest in. If you want to invest in a console, you want to know that it's going to play well. You don't want to know that you might play well and you might not, because that's I'll just not bother. If there's a chance that it's going to be slow and input laggy, I'm not bothered. Not bothered. I'll just get rid of it. So would be good. Could be exciting if it unlocks your back catalogue and you don't have to pay them again. You can just stick your disc in your console. It reads it and goes, "Yeah, mate, that's
Yeah.
the one." However,
I don't want to pay a surcharge for the game that I already own to be able to play it online, to be able to play it on my PlayStation 5. That's a joke. That's a mockery.
never seen one being held. So cheers for that, Bibby. I have a better understanding of its reduced size. It's actually massive. It's just Bibby's about 14 feet tall, so it looks tiny. David says, why does the PS1 diagram look so basic compared to the other consoles? It looks more like a dishwasher tablet than a console. I didn't think dishwasher tablet. I thought tissue box. Where is it? Let's open it back up. There's the PS1 image. That there looks like a box of Andrex kind of thing. You just reach in the hole, you grab your tissue out, jobs are good one. To blow your nose by anyone else's imagination. I don't know what you guys are thinking. I'm going to reach into a tissue box to blow my nose. So let's just leave that there. Let's leave it there. So there you go. PS5. The pre-order placeholder pages are up on Amazon. No pricing, no new information, but the pages are there. Stick my what in the console? Oh, disc. Ah, okay, there you go. Madge. So yeah, the PS5 placeholder pages are live. No pricing information there. Rumors of something happening this week in terms of an announcement. There has been rumors from the people that predicted when the state of play where the console reveal took place. Rumors that confirm that the same people are confirming that something will be happening this week. So it does have a little bit of weight behind it, but once again, take all of it with a pinch. There might be something, there might not be something. And if it does happen this week, is that a bit dangerous with Xbox being next week, revealing the prices before they show their hands? So I'm not convinced that we will get something this week. I'm definitely not convinced that we will have, as I jump back to the previous article, I'm definitely not convinced we'll get in a showcase of a Silent Hill reboot, which was allegedly exclusive to PS5. I mean, I could see a Silent Hill reboot being exclusive to PS5, but I don't think it will happen. I'm not convinced. If we've just had, but then again, actually, I mean, I'm going to say we just had Silent Hill in Dead by Daylight. Maybe that could be a precursor if we're just going to play devil's advocate. Maybe it could be. Maybe that could be leading to something new. But yeah, I'm saying unlikely. I agree with Asim on that one. Final Fantasy VII Part 2. Well, Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2. We could have a first look at that. That seems more likely. Or even announcement regarding Final Fantasy 16. I could see those definitely being more likely than getting an exclusive for PS5 Silent Hill. But maybe we get it all, and maybe I'll just look daft in a week's time when Sony have gone. But yeah, there we go. Madge says, shock to pre-order page I think came up that announced week of console. Remember Ian2KTV saying on Twitter. Gatekeeper TV, good morning. Says the PS wording is play has no limits, so I can see backwards compatibility coming.
I hope so.
But anyway, let's move forward. So nothing solid, but more rumblings of the PS5 news, which obviously the hype train always builds before it leaves the station. So, it could be happening pretty soon. You never know, especially if these leaks around the dates and so on are good. But anyway, let's move on to something completely different. We were going to include this in yesterday's show, but obviously with the Ubisoft Forward event the night before, that just took over the whole show yesterday. So this, you may have seen it around now, but it's still worth covering, so that's why it's here again today. But EA Sports UFC 4 reveal confirms that Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury are in the game. Both boxers are to appear as pre-order bonus, written by Andy Robinson for VGC. The article goes on to say, EA has unveiled UFC 4 and confirmed that heavyweight boxing champions Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury will appear as playable fighters in the game. EA Sports UFC 4 will release for PS4 and Xbox One on Friday, August the 14th, with players who pre-order the game receiving Joshua and Fury. EA has previously included boxers in the UFC game series, including former heavyweight champion Mike Tyson. According to the publisher, the new UFC game will feature a new unified progression system, overhauled takedown and ground mechanics, more fluid clinch-to-strike combinations, and new environments based on the origins of combat sports. So, is that the Kumite? Is that how you pronounce it? The Backyard, UFC Apex, and Action Avenue. In gameplay, EA promises more responsive and authentic stand-up gameplay experiences, plus overhaul takedown and ground mechanics. Meanwhile, a new submission system is designed to offer a simplified player experience with more ways to transition into submission attempts, accelerate a finish, or deploy slams to escape them. Fluid clinch control brings a key element of strategy to the striking system, EA said, while takedowns have been overhauled with new animation driven by player control and fighter attributes. Additionally, an overhaul to career mode introduces a new way to develop fighter backstories, according to the publisher. UFC 4 is the most authentic MMA game ever, said creative director Brian Haynes in a statement. We've created a visceral fighting experience that allows players to create their own UFC legacy with Create a Fighter. Can we get the word create in there a bit more? I'm going to read that line again. We've created a visceral fighting experience that allows players to create their own UFC legacy with Create a Fighter. Explore the origins of MMA through our new fighting grounds and be in full control of every strike and takedown with our overhauled core gameplay mechanics. I have. Do you know, I'm going to put the video back on because I'm going to play the trailer whilst we talk through it. But what your thoughts, Pip? What your first takeaway from that?
Immediately, it makes me think that there is a new Fight Night game on the way. Purely because why would they go to the trouble of scanning Joshua and Fury just to put them in a UFC game? For a DLC, yeah, that's cool. But they've got them scanned in now. So I think that a new Fight Night game is potentially going to be on the way. I think this is the biggest indication that we're going to get one. The UFC game, I've never been a fan of. I'm not a fan of UFC. I do think it probably would be the closest we'd come to a fighting simulator, like Fight Night. But UFC doesn't interest me one little bit. So I've actually got one here. UFC Undisputed 2010. That was the only one I've ever bought. I thought I could try and get into it, never did. So I never bothered again. But I think this is the best E4 is going to be because again, I've got zero interest in UFC, but I have in boxing.
See, I'm open to the UFC games. I have, so and I enjoyed it enough. I mean, reading the press release kind of confirms what I thought. The transitioning between a standing clinch, using submissions, and so on. Oh, is this going to be the Joshua bit? Yeah. Okay.
Anthony Joshua looks great. Tyson Fury doesn't. Tyson Fury looks like he's been made out of like Play-Doh.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's kind of easy to do because Joshua's physique is very defined and ripped, whereas Tyson Fury is more like that natural sort of force strength kind of build. It's harder to replicate that. In what was it? There was something. I'm trying to remember. There was something I read recently, and it was basically saying that someone was hard to. Do you know? Actually, do you know? I can't even remember. It was either a criminal thing or it was a video game. It was either that someone was hard to be. Actually, no. I remember what it was. I was watching Unsolved Mysteries on Netflix, and it was like a police report trying to explain one of the guys from within the stories. I won't go into any detail, but the gist of it, the police were saying, quite different. The difficult thing is he's just a non-remarkable person. He's not too big. He's not too bold. He's not too whatever. It just blends in. So it's kind of hard to describe it. And not that Tyson Fury is non-remarkable. He's very distinct in certain features, but his build isn't. It's kind of like more average. So yeah, I don't think even then though. I don't think they've done a very good job of it. It looks like they've got like shitloads of modelers around Joshua's pegs, but then just got one guy with a spatula to just do Tyson Fury's, and it's just like, no, it doesn't look as good.
It's his face more than anything. It doesn't look like Tyson Fury. Like fair enough, like you said, his physique is probably a lot easier to do than Anthony Joshua's, but it's just his face doesn't look like Tyson Fury. He's got quite a distinctive face, and this just looks like someone's made it on like a creation station in game. It doesn't look like it's been scanned in at all.
Do you know what his face reminds me of? Chapper says, I missed the Tyson Fury reveal. What's he look like? I've got the images on screen. I'll see if I can bring it. There you go. That's full screen. His face reminds me of, if you cover up his gum shield and his mouth and stuff, his eyes and his nose and stuff reminds me of Martin Sheen, like Charlie Sheen's dad or whatever he is. It's almost like that. You know, I'm going to see if I'm going to take this off screen and then I'll find a picture of Martin Sheen. Martin Sheen. Obviously, he's a lot older than Tyson Fury, but give me an image that's. Okay, there's a younger Martin Sheen. So I'll put, oh yeah, I've got it on screen. I thought I'd taken it off screen, but there we go. Where was it? Tyson Fury. There we go. So Tyson Fury, Martin Sheen. Okay. How do I? What tab am I on?
Hmm.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There we go. Okay. 10, 9. I don't know. How do I do it? There we go. I can't get to 10 anyway. Well, fuck this up. Let's just get rid of that. But yeah, the eyes and stuff, the shape of like that face on his eyes there, versus that there. I'm seeing similarities, not from that particular picture, but I think he looks more like Martin Sheen than Tyson Fury. So I agree with that. But jumping back to your bit of, could this be the signifier for a new boxing game? I almost feel like it's kind of backwards in that sense. I almost feel like, okay, we've got UFC, we've got a production line for UFC, in terms of we've got Dana White and all of the social things. We've had UFC 2, 3 already recently, so UFC 4. It's easier for us to just throw Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury in there for UFC 4 than it is to create a new Fight Night game. Or is this kind of like a proving ground? Is EA still on the fence? We know Eddie Hearn likes to spin a story, because if you spin a story, spin gets attention. Attention can make things happen. So just by spinning something, you can spin it into existence. And he's really good at that. Not just in selling the fights, but he's trying to sell a game here as well. He wants to get Fight Night back on the roster, or a boxing game back on the roster, be that EA or 2K. And is this EA going, okay, well, we had boxing games in the past, but boxing in general kind of went off the boil. Not only in terms of success, but there just wasn't really the stars. There wasn't any real interest to comparing to where it was 20 years ago. It kind of went off the boil in the last 10 years. But then, 10 years ago, but in the last 10 years has now come back to the boil with the likes of the Joshuas and the Furies and everyone else in that sort of era. When Mayweather and co disappeared, boxing went off the boil. EA's probably thought, okay, there's not much there. Do we want to step back into that? Do we want to risk the finances for doing that? And probably having Joshua and Fury in there and having them as something that's completely traceable by having them as pre-order bonuses will allow them to see, okay, we sold X amount of games, but we sold X amount of pre-orders, so we can see there's definitely a demand for boxing. So if that is the case, we will create a boxing game off the back of that. Wouldn't surprise me if that's the EA's thought process there. Not just using them to sell the game, but using them to, in a way that they can fully track just how many of them they've sold as well. Excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what Chappers is saying there. Boxing isn't really popular to him anymore. There's a load of old stars and a load of upcoming talent, but do we really care that much about them? UFC is the biggest sell. I think more people want the extreme. They want the extreme experience, and that's what UFC offers. For me, I've never liked UFC whatsoever. I've never got the appeal of it. It's it, it's just not for me. Whereas boxing, 100% is. So if I was to choose either one of them, I would love a new Fight Night game. A Fight Night Champion, I think, was the last one that came out, and that was an absolute stonker of a game. It was amazing. The story mode was amazing. If there was to bring a new Fight Night game out, I don't know what direction they would go down. Would it be a storyline game, or would it just be a simulator like Fight Night Round 3 was, where there was no story to it? It was just, these are all your fights. You have 40 fights, and then you get the belt at the end. It was just fight after fight after fight. There was no narrative to it whatsoever. It was just get as much points and get as much money as you can, get to the top, get the belt, you've completed the game. It was the easiest 1K I've ever got in gamer score on the Xbox 360. And I imagine it was probably a lot of people's first platinum if they was into boxing games on the PlayStation. It was just
Round 3 was the easiest one that I ever got.
yeah, it was just get the heavyweight belt. You'd unlock the rest of the belts on the way up. So it was a piece of piss. They'd have to go down the journey, or sort of some sort of route like that, like they did with Fight Night Champion. Again, if you've not played Fight Night Champion, play it because the story mode was phenomenal. I think that would be the way to get people back. But I don't know if they'd want to waste that much money in getting people face scan, paying for their license to be in the game if it's just going to be an exhibition match or a very, very, very boring simulated. Here's your next opponent, beat him, move on, go to the gym, train up. Just add a bit more flair to it. It's a boxing game. We want to feel like we are simulating a boxer's experience
I
from
think
I
I
don't
think
know,
it definitely needs
13,
that.
14-year-old lad all the way through to a 38-year-old world champion.
Yeah, I think it definitely needs that. Whether they go through more of an old school wrestling sort of career mode where the fights just kind of spring up randomly depending on what's happening, or whether they go through more of a detailed narrative storyline like the journey
Mm,
where you have key moments that are built into the script anyway,
yeah,
regardless, or based on your decisions that you make. I think it would definitely have to have something like that in it if they were to make a boxing game. I do agree with Chapper's comments though, is in terms of boxing has quite a lot of stars in terms of like the Deontay Wilders and the Joshuas and the Furies and so on. But like there's a clear difference between Joshua and Fury, and then to like Wilders and Co. And then after that, like I'm a commercial boxing fan in terms of I will watch the big stuff. Other than that, I'm not really that bothered. I know people like Buzz Dead Peep from the Jelly Team would watch pretty much any boxing. For me, that gets lost on me, and I think that's partially the reason I care about Joshua and Fury is the I mean, love him or hate him, is the Eddie Hearn input. He's turned them into household names. He's created the narrative. He's turned them into personalities. The same way that Vince McMahon turned wrestling into sports entertainment. He's adding a little bit of that entertainment factor. He's the one that creates the David Hayes sort of drama with Bellew before the fight kind of thing.
yeah,
If it wasn't for him putting that sort of stuff into it, I mean that's another one. So Hey Bellew, Joshua Fury, that sort of stuff for British boxing in particular. Go back 5 years ago, it was in a really good place, and it's kind of fizzled out a little bit there since then. So I'm not kind of sure there's the demand for that as much. I mean, I agree with Chapper's comment saying UFC is definitely the biggest sell, and I think that's because they almost have that WWE sort of roster thing. They have when they're doing their conferences, like you always see that who the fuck is that guy from Conor McGregor when he's sat on a bench and he's pointing up at
yeah,
some dude that no one ever knows, like 3 rows back or whatever. But those front of house, those putting everyone out, those having like a roster and a signifier. I think that the issue with boxing is there's so many different brands, and all the boxes are almost like individual items within a different brand. And UFC, because it's more unified, has that sort of modern approach to it. I think all of that combined, I understand why they put the boxers in UFC. I understand why they've not put out a boxing game, but I almost feel it's like a chicken and egg. You're not going to get boxing successful unless it's deployed into more areas of life, and you're not going to get a boxing game because boxing is not successful. But putting a boxing game deploys boxing into more areas of life. It's like which catch 22, chicken and egg. Until you've got a boxing game, you're not going to expose it to more people. If more people are exposed to it, they're not going to care. So you're not going to get a game. So people aren't going to care, and we just keep going around in that sort of cycle. But yeah, I mean, I would love to have another Fight Night game. Absolutely, absolutely would. I'd take them in UFC 4. But I'm probably not going to play with them in UFC 4 because I'm not going to pre-order it. So there you go. That's lost on me. Could have a promoter mode and you just manage the boxes,
that would be amazing.
like
Like
the
GM mode in wrestling.
or the old Master League mode where you could just be the club owner as opposed to like the actual manager kind of thing. What was that? That was only in for like 1 year, like 2013, 2012 or something like that. Yeah, like there's Wilder, Fury, Joshua, Klitschko maybe, and then is Pacquiao still fighting? Ish. Is Klitschko's not even still fighting? Is he? Is he? I know he retired
He's
and
not
then came
retired
back.
ages ago.
But then like he retired again. Is he defo retired or is he just retired for now again? There's nothing really. So yeah, it doesn't. It needs boxing as a whole needs like an Eddie Hearn, but not just for his fighters, but for the whole industry. I think. Love him or hate him, Eddie Hearn is good at what he does, and boxing needs that in total. Him carrying that on his on his stable is fine, but other stables not doing the same thing, it doesn't sell as well. Asim says, not my cup of tea, but if they did a boxing game, I do think they'd stick the likes of KSI, Logan Paul, and those YouTube boxers in to make an easier sell to younger audience. I mean, that's just a license to print sales, so that wouldn't surprise me. I know that you would alienate boxing purists with that, because not all of them, a lot of boxing purists were like, do you know what, this Logan Paul KSI fight has done wonders for boxing. It's put us on the map again, and made people pay attention. But then you get a lot of boxing purists that go, yeah, but how can you call them boxers? They're not boxers. Professional boxing fight, this is ridiculous. It's blasphemy, which I also get where they're coming from. But if it's ultimately going to help your sport and bring new faces in, new blood into it, and then you can then treat them like proper boxers and give them the art of boxing rather than just like slugfest in the middle of a ring for a few YouTube clicks. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. It brings more into it. So, but yeah, I mean, by bringing them in, I think they would absolutely sell to the younger end of the audience. The issue is, would they create lifelong fans of boxing, or is that just obviously selling to the YouTube element? But then again, do EA care? Because EA aren't in the boxing industry. EA are in the selling video games to video game players industry. So for their side of things, it would absolutely work. Chapper says the guy on the cover of UFC 4 is Israel Adesanya, whose persona is the last style bender. He's interesting and has a wrestling style nickname and image. It's cool. UFC is this decade's WWF, WWE. I agree with that. And like you've seen it, I mean, UFC has kind of gone off the boil as well a little bit. I mean, maybe the last style bender could change things going forward, but even within that trailer, I was half paying attention. I'm fairly sure I saw Conor McGregor, who has announced his retirement yet again. Ronda Rousey, who retired, and I think she's fully retired still. But even that, going back a few years ago, UFC was kind of like up there. You had the twilight years of Chuck Liddell, Conor McGregor, the Ronda Rouseys, who was appearing in film and TVs and so on. Nate Diaz,
In
obviously.
WWE.
You are?
She was in WWE for about 2 years as well.
Yeah, and then slated it when she left. I wonder if is that part of it. Anyway, forget whether that was part of the character or not. But so yeah, UFC has gone off the boil a little bit at this point in time. So maybe it's good for both of them. If boxing and UFC can unite, they both could do with a little bit more narrative, or not necessarily narrative, but just the media sort of training. That's probably not the right word. The ability to outreach into the media that WWE and WWF has or had at its peak. If boxing or UFC could do that, then we could be good for either. But either way, I mean, UFC, if they can make it a bit of one and a bit of the other, then they'll sell a shitload. So it's good for them. Fight esports could be pretty big if done right. Or Fight Night esports. Yeah, I agree. I mean, we've looked at doing some of that before. When we had tickets to the Hay Value fight in London, we wanted to create a stream where we had people on, maybe even doing a boxing tournament for that, but there just wasn't anything. The closest we got was a UFC game that came out 2 years before, and it was just like, we want people to get on and just punch the shit out of each other, not slap and tickle lying down on the canvas. God. Morning, Carson. UFC VR.
Morning, Catherine.
So you can get punched in the face. It's all right. I live in Salford. Just walk around the shop so you can get that anyway. Anyway, let's move forward. We have. Do you know what? I'm gonna quickly fly through 2 articles so we can have a chat that we promised yesterday. So I'm not gonna bother with adding the discussing now bits, but I'll put these 2 articles on just because they're fresh and relevant. First article: Ubisoft used the extra time to refine Watch Dogs Legion's biggest mechanic. This is written by Sharif Saeed and was published this morning on VG247. And Watch Dogs Legion team was surprised to learn that the game is being pushed. Oh, okay. Was surprised. There we go. The Watch Dogs Legion team was surprised to learn the game is being pushed back, but the delay ended up working in everyone's favour. When Ubisoft decided to delay its entire slate of games late last year, it came at a time when Watch Dogs Legion's creative director Clint Hocking was ready to finish the game. But once he got over that, Hocking realised how the extra time could really help the game. Speaking to IGN, Hocking explained that the delay benefited the game's core mechanic, playing as anyone, the most. Although the underlying systems had all been in place before, the added development time allowed the team to really make each variation of traits its own character. So the most important thing I think we've done is add a lot more refinement to traits and the abilities that you find on characters in the world, and better ways for aggregating those into individuals, he explained. As a consequence of that, we have a lot of cool characters that kind of emerge out of these great traits. Some of these changes, according to Hocking, were previously out of reach. The added time even helped the developer update the game's progression systems to allow for more experimentation and not overly reward players for picking a few agents and sticking with them for the entire game. There's another component in the fight against the Albion Corporation in Watch Dogs Legion that was also refined thanks to the delay. As you visit the different boroughs of London, you'll be able to do certain activities that weaken their grip on each of them, which in turn empowers people to rise up against Albion. Once you do all of those activities in a borough, you get a borough liberation mission, a really custom beat with a unique gameplay and a really cool challenge, said Hocking. And then that causes people in the borough to rise up, and that makes them much easier to recruit, and it gets rid of the Albion checkpoints and reduces the Albion presence in the street. It really makes it feel like you're taking the city back. The ability to play as anyone remains Watch Dogs Legion's biggest innovation, and it holds up under scrutiny so far, at least. Hit the link for our hands on blah, 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 blah. Okay. So the gist of that, Watch Dogs Legion was delayed last year, but as far as the team working on it were concerned, it was good to go. So extra time equals more refining, and the game should be polished. And so far, that's holding up under scrutiny, as it said in there. So within their reviews, they're saying it is doing it. So we will see. But anyway, we won't spend too much time going on to that. If you're interested in Watch Dogs Legion, it sounds like it's going to be solid. Obviously, it depends on whether you feel there's a bit of repetition in the mission. There you go. The Albion is such a stock name to call an English enemy type, says Craig. Well, there you go. There you go. One final bit of news before we jump into our final discussion is that Halo 3 PC launches as part of the Master Chief Collection tomorrow, which is today, July the 14th. So this is written by Cian, Maher for VG247. The article says the Halo 3 PC port will launch as part of the Master Chief Collection tomorrow, July the 14th at 10 a.m. PT. We already knew that Halo 3 was launching on July the 14th, but the official Halo Twitter page posted a reminder earlier today before insiders revealed the specific time at which the game would unlock. Check it out below. Oh, teaser. Oh. There you go. Believe reads the tweet from the Halo Twitter account. Tomorrow, Halo 3 arrives on PC. Tyler Postums Davis, who works on community support for the Master Chief Collection, elaborated on this with a further tweet revealing the exact time the game will be available to play at. Tuesday, July the 14th, 10 a.m. PT. Wrote Davis, this is when the Halo 3 PC port is scheduled to unlock for the Master Chief Collection owners, which means fans of the series can finally play through the original trilogy in its entirety on PC. Halo 3 PC is due to feature the original campaign, multiplayer, Forge mode, and Plenty mode, including updated customization options and the return of Theater mode. Fans of this series will be glad to know that the official Xbox event scheduled for July the 23rd is due to feature Halo Infinite gameplay ahead of the iconic series' next installment for Xbox Series X. However, the Halo Infinite reveal will exclusively focus on the game's campaign. So Halo 3 PC is out today.
Yay.
Legion being the good guy's name too. There you go. It's all of the not stereotypes, easy names. Good morning, Mr. Ian2K, who's just been name checked in the chat a little bit further up. I think it was Madge. He was saying bad things, purely bad things. Chapper says Halo 3 is out now. Yes. Are you going to be playing Halo 3 on PC, baby?
Not anytime soon, no. I do love Halo 3. Finished it a number of times. I will pick it up at some point to play it on PC so I can actually play online again, because I used to dominate on that game back in my youth. Probably be absolutely shit now. But yeah, I've got a million other games that I need to get through first.
Sweet. Okay, well, there you go. Ian says the Halo games have been on PC for years. How does Steam make it any better? Is it remastered or is it just a plain release?
I don't think it's a port. I think this is part of the Master Chief Collection. I'm sure there was rebuilding them from the ground up again.
Yeah, I think there was. I seem to remember there being some technical issues with some of the earlier games, which is why it's taken some time for them, and they've been done in stages. So yeah, I think that's it. They were there, but they weren't perfect. They were glitchy and buggy and stuff. Whereas now these are on point. Apparently. Anyway, let's leave that where it is and jump into this final bit of news, which we had people asking us to discuss this yesterday. So let's look at an embedded tweet from our friends at Next Gen Base that says it looks like there's not going to be a standalone PES 2021 release, given this update on the Xbox Store, just a season update. Thoughts? And then within that, there's two images that have taken from the Xbox Store. Xbox Live eFootball PES 2021 season update. Second image, which goes into the description. Please note that the latest data for certain licensed leagues and teams will only be available via an update post-release. You will need an internet connection in order to download this update. See the official website for more details. Due to the ongoing impact of COVID-19, certain real-world football leagues and/or tournaments may undergo sudden regulation changes. As a result, there is a chance that in-game regulations may not perfectly match their real-life counterparts. Other changes that impact leagues and tournaments may also be implemented in future updates without prior notice. And then we go into the main body of content, which says celebrate 25 years of PES with eFootball PES 2021 season update, available at a special anniversary price. This product is an updated edition of eFootball PES 2020, launched in September 2019, containing the latest player data and club rosters. Please note that some of the leagues will have their rosters updated post-release. So the gist of it, as you can see, tagged there by Xbox leaking everything recently. The gist of it is that eFootball PES 2021 won't be a standalone game as such. Well, it will be, but rather than being a fully reworked game that introduces new gameplays and so on, it will be the same game from PES 2020, but with the updated rosters and leagues and player representation in that way. Bib, thoughts?
I think personally this is a massive step in the right direction. There's been a lot of disgruntled people in the community over the last year or so, mainly about the game being online. It's quite rare at the moment that I'm finding people complaining about the Master League. Yeah, fair enough. It's not the most in-depth thing in the world, and there is older versions of PES that have much better things in the Master League that we now don't have in this one. To bulk it out just a little bit more so that it doesn't feel like the new chapters and stuff like that we've been seeing, they're good. It gives you a little bit more freedom around your club. It gives you, it feels like you're the manager, especially with our Masters of the League series, because we're kind of doing things off script. So it's not just about the game. It's more about the way that me and you are controlling the club, and with our chat as well. We're making our own narrative, shall we say. It's not the one that's just by the book that the game's given us. So I think this is, for me, the best way to be able to get a better game in 2 years' time. There is some things that are fundamentally broken with the game that I would like to see be fixed, and it's a yearly update game. There's 9 months, if that, probably even 7 or 8 months every single year that they have to try and change the game. In that time as well, they have to continue developing this game. So, for instance, this is an example. 2020 came out in September. Before that, there was developing the game whilst also maintaining the live updates, the new content that comes in every single Monday and Thursday. The upkeep of that, whilst also developing the new game, it's got to be difficult, and that's not just for PES. That's for every single game that has a number in it. That's a yearly edition of the game. It must be difficult to be able to work on the game that you've got whilst also trying to change the next game. I don't know how much of this new one that's coming out is just going to be a roster update. I think they will have to bring out a data pack with it as well, whether or not the data pack contains gameplay fixes, or it's just what the name says on the tin is the data pack. It's just going to be new kits. It's just going to be the transfers. I can't see them leaving the game for a year without changing the game itself. Do you think that wouldn't make any sense? At 12 months of not changing anything to do with the game code, that I can't see them just shelving it. I reckon they will change things around the year. It just won't get the full focus. I want the full focus, me personally, as a massive fan of the franchise, to be on the new edition of the game. I don't want the first game on the new console to be a flop. And if that means that we take a year out of this, and I can guarantee now, if I was to go through PES community members' tweets, any of their streams, I will be able to find at least 10 examples where they have stated that they would like this game to be a year, take a year off, make the new game well. Whether or not they change the tune now, I don't know, because that means that their content will be the same for another year. I don't know. However, my own thoughts, opinions as a fan of the franchise is take the year. Take the year, give us what we have this year. I mean, for an offline player like myself who just invests their time into Master League, it's been a good year for me. I'm playing a version of the PES on the PC with all the bells and whistles, and had the most fun I've had playing a Master League in probably about 4 years. In fact, it probably ties in with either the PS4 release or the couple before on the Xbox 360, mainly 2013, because I absolutely adored that one. But I don't want the first game on the new console to be a flop. If we can get loads of content, that'll be amazing. But just get the gameplay right. It's a fine line between realism and fun, and that seems to be the mainstay of social media at the moment. How can you make it realistic? How can you make it fun? It's a very, very fine line. You can't have both, unfortunately. You can have extra content that may make it fun, but ultimately the gameplay is it's two sides. You can't have both. So I would, me personally, I would kind of go against, like, the older games wasn't realistic. Let's be honest. The games on the PlayStation 2 was not realistic. A lot of them was a frantic 100-mile-an-hour. The amount of times that you would kick the ball and it'd go 700 miles an hour into the back of the net. That's not realistic. It was just a concoction of arcade styles, if you will. It was a throwback to what you play on an arcade machine, mixed in with some realistic elements of the way that the player ID started to develop. Like, you can get Ronaldinho, who had an insane amount of dribbling speed. He could do step overs faster than most people in the other game as well. That's where the realistic player ID came into it, and that's where we're at this point. So for me, taking the year, hand on heart, is for me the best way to go. I will more than likely still be using gameplay mods in PES 2020 to get what I can. If the game's not going to change this year, I'll just continue playing 20 and use gameplay mods and continue our Masters of the League season. That's where I stand on it. However, if that's the case, 2022 has to be a banger. And that's from the heart.
From the heart.
But that was from the heart, man.
Okay, jumping back through the comments then. Asim says it's good step, but only if 2022 is an absolute wonder of a game. Ian 2K says, I think most sports games would benefit having a 2-year cycle if it means better gameplay / graphics. Back to Asim, who says, massive risk, as essentially 2021 is just 2020 with minor updates. Going to be an extremely tough sell given how much of the core fan base is unhappy with 2020. Back to Ian 2K, says, you've seen the state of WWE 2K franchise. That definitely needs 2 years to get right. Pez Luke says, people talking about the delay being fine as long as PES 2022 is a great game. I'm not sure they'll do much different for 2022 personally. It's an idealistic view, in my opinion, thinking they'll suddenly get everything right. Let's just pause there, just because obviously there's a few comments. Morning Baxter as well. Tennessee. I mean, I don't think they need to get everything right. That's the nature of a football game. If they got it right, why would there be a 2023? Because you've got it. That is fine. I mean, I don't want a football game to get it right. I want a football game to be fun, enjoyable, and not have glaring bugs or issues. And if it has issues and stuff that you can get past, I take that as it comes. I'm not. I'm an idealist rather than a perfectionist. I want a game that's fun and solid, and if it has bugs and stuff, it's stuff that aren't really relevant that you can ignore and so on and get past it. Because none of the old PES 5, as much as people want to say it, wasn't perfect, but it was well balanced from an idealistic standpoint. And I always throw in the fact that playing PES 5 versus PES 2020, the differences between those games, I mean, there's so much more in PES 2020 that is so much harder to balance. You look at Modern Warfare, and then people go, oh, COD 4, oof. Yeah, but COD 4 had such a limited amount of perks and weapons and so on compared to what you can do now, and then weapon attachments and thermals and so on, that it was easy. It's like playing rock, paper, scissors. It's easy. It's such an easy game because it's well balanced. You've got one thing that can win against you, one thing that can lose against you. Balance, job's good. That's what you need in a football game. But balancing everything that's in there. So even down to it has like shirt mechanics when someone's lagging on your shirt when you're running away from them. That even though that's kind of not really relevant, it's still important. You'd still like to have it in, but that then suddenly starts to have impacts on the way animations link, and then that will have impacts on the way that you build up to an animation and the transitions and every little bit that makes it better adds the potential for issues. Not saying that's acceptable. Just give me something where those issues are minimal and not apparent. I don't want to change to a player and have his momentum completely stop. I like the fact that games have inertia and momentum. So you've got a player that starts moving and then he gets faster and he gets faster as at top speed, but then you select him and he stands still, and then you have to start that moment again. That's not something I can get past. That breaks the game. That changes the way that you attack because you've got to factor that in and stuff like that. Get rid of that, but give me glitches elsewhere. That's fine as long as it's not going to impact the way that the game plays. So, do I want them to get everything right? Yes. Do I expect them to get everything right? No. Would I be happy enough if they took away a year away to focus on getting that balance across the board? I'd be happy with that. I'd be happy with that. Like Dib says, people have been clamoring forever for a game to take a year away and come back refreshed. Throw into that a new generation. So not only, I mean, where was the comment? So yeah, Ian2K. Most sports games would benefit from a 2-year cycle. And look at the state of WWE 2K.
Oh god, yeah.
So having 2 years to get a game down, I think we're all kind of agreed. If you have 2 years, you're more likely to get a better game. Having 1 year, you're less likely to get a better game. Having 1 year and a new generation, you're stretching yourself so thin there. So I think even that 2 years is kind of what we need as a minimum. So am I expecting them to absolutely nail it with 2022, whatever the next one would be, all the 20s? Am I expecting them to absolutely nail it? No. Is there going to be more expectance on them to nail it? Yes. Do I expect them to nail it? No, because there is the added complication of another generation in there as well. But I think that 2-year cycle does give the freedoms to try a lot more. So rather than seeing like minor updates to my club and gradual updates to Master League and so on, 2 years gives them a good chunk of time to say, okay, it would usually take us 3 months to plan out adding this module into Master League. We're going to do that. We're going to do that. We're going to do that. And then stuff ticks up and they go, oh, crap, we've only got 2 months left. We'll have to just do some tweaks. If you've got a 24-month period, you can box off stuff like that. So I think there's the potential to have some bigger changes, be it content in my club and the way that works and is deployed, or be that actual content within the game itself in terms of gameplay, kits, animations, stadiums, whatever, or be it features within Master League. Having a bigger chunk of time means you've got more time to do actual visible changes as opposed to just iterations. So I think that's where we'll see it.
Please, if anybody is listening, please just give us a Pro Clubs in the game. I don't want to buy FIFA for my Pro Clubs fix, but FIFA is only get bought every single year by myself so I can play Pro Clubs. If you can give me a Pro Clubs experience in there so we don't have to make our own 10v10 competitions, my life will be complete. Just please, if there is a God somewhere, please give us a Pro Clubs mode. I need that.
I'll take that. Got to Baxter's comment. Morning. Oh, it's gone now. Morning, chaps. Expecting much from the season update. If that's why it will be as rumored. What? I think we kind of covered over that anyway. But we'll keep going. I'm glad of it. PS4's first PES was PES 2015, and that game was an absolute shambles. And then the two after it were superb. 2016, 2017 were nailed on. To be fair. I'm shocked at how the game has slid, says Baxter. Still played it pretty much all year online. Asim says, but yeah, tough year ahead with 2021. Whatever price it is, 25 to 30 quid. Tough sell being essentially 2020. 2022, as I said, needs to be the best PES almost ever. Otherwise, things will get crazy. And I think that's the issue. I'm not necessarily thinking 2 years you can make the perfect game. None of us would think that, but that is the expectation. As sad as it is, people are going to expect 2 years to nail it. That 2 years gives you time to fix your current gen, or improve on it, should I say, as well as create the next gen. off of your current gen. So there's no way that there's enough time there for that to be perfect. But having a year off, which has never been done before, comes with that expectation. So yeah, I think I completely agree. It's going to be a tough year ahead. Even if it's a great game, is it going to be enough after that? That's always going to be the thing. It has to be. It can't. I don't think being a great game is going to be enough. It almost has to be flawless because of the amount of expectation left on top of them. Chapter says, so why not just skip the step of having the shit year and have a good game after? I think there's a couple of reasons there. Licenses. All of the licenses for football clubs and so on will have all been paid for 2-3 years or whatever, some maybe longer. So there's a need to recoup money on those licenses, and then just finance in general. To go for a full year without any revenue, it's not feasible. As much as we kind of would like to think that it is. I mean, it's like someone saying to you, okay, you want to get a better job, but you're not really liking the one that you're in. Just why don't you just stop working until you get your next one? It's like, well, I've got to pay the fucking bills. So I don't think that's feasible. They still have shareholders that will pull money from it, and they can still offer something to people that want, just because some people might think it's a shit experience, other people would absolutely love that experience. So is it fair to take that opportunity of having an experience of playing the official UEFA 2020 mode again, but inside a game alongside that tournament next year, where other people would love to have that opportunity? Just because the hardcore PES community don't like the gameplay and so on, doesn't necessarily mean that the casual PES community don't. We're all having this discussion because we all, whether we want to be or not, are classed as hardcore PES guys. A lot of people just pick it up and play it and take it at face value. And those people will way outweigh the people that are vocal on Twitter and vocal here in Twitch. So that'll be why they have the shit year, because it'll be shit for people that will see it that way. But for every one person that sees it that way, there's probably another 10 that don't as well. And even if there isn't, I mean, you wouldn't throw away your wage just because you're trying to make something better for the future. I'm expecting. Go on, continue.
As I say, the thing with the price as well, I think 25 to 30 quid is going to be that's the perfect price point. I think it's that will that make it more affordable for people who potentially may have only got FIFA or PES. They could potentially try and get both now.
I mean, even that's. I mean, 20, 25 quid. Like we say, which I always use this as my barometer. It's not going to be the last time I do it, so I'm not going to apologize for it. But 25 quid is less than I'd spend to go to the cinema. Because I won't go on my own. Me, Danielle, and or Chloe, some snacks and stuff. It's going to be probably over the 30 quid. So that just for a game that could be about 49, 50 quid. I mean, that for me, if it is in that sort of price range, then yeah, I'd take that. It's not going to be what you want it to be. If you go in that expecting a complete revamp of my club, if you go in that expecting additional stuff into Master League, then you're not going to get that. If you want to go into that with rosters and stuff, and that stuff, people are quick to poo-poo that sort of stuff as well. But how many people won't start a Master League until the first patch comes out? If they get the game a couple of days early, I'm not going to start my Master League yet because I want the full squads. I'm not going to start my Master League yet because I'm waiting for the PES Universe option file so I can get all the kits and stuff. Having those up-to-date kits and being able to play IRL football or a representation of it is important to people.
Mm-hmm.
It might not be the way that you want it, and it might not have the gameplay changes that you're asking for, but just that on its own is enough for a lot of people. And it can be quite ignorant of people to assume that that's not going to be enough for a lot of people. That's more than enough for a lot of people. And if it is 25, 30 quid, as Asim's mentioned, then a lot of people would absolutely snap their hand off for that season update or not. So yeah, that's a bit. Jumping back, it's all moved. I'm a PES guy, but expecting huge things from EA and the new consoles. Just a little more content and less rebounds that you simply can't explain. I'm expecting both companies to bring real good football games to the PS5. Do you know what? If I'm being honest, and I've not seen any or know anything from any of them, right off the first one. So maybe not with PES because it's not happening or isn't happening or whatever. If you're writing off what's the year 2021 anyway, because it's a season update and we've got 2022. I would say be cautious and be prepared to write off the FIFA equivalent of 2021 if that comes out next gen. It is coming out next gen. We've had that confirmed. So be prepared to write that off, not because it's going to be shit, but just because developers are humans and new software and new hardware takes time to get used to. A lot of people will just use it as a fuck you EA, but it is hard trying to do something when you don't do it. We've seen it with WWE 2K. They when not necessarily new software, but a new firm, new expertise got a hold of it instead of Ukes, and it didn't quite work. So I'd say be prepared to write off the next year for football games. What doesn't necessarily mean that we have to. Asif says that's why they need to get right. If they're taking a year out, then 2022 needs to be a fun game. It needs to not have fundamental issues like the AI, responsiveness, and online being something from the PS2 days. Amen. Gatekeeper TV says the Fox engine is likely at its limits in terms of what they can get out of it. Have you seen the theory that PT was Kojima taking a shot at Konami and the antagonist Lisa was a metaphor for the Fox engine? I haven't seen that one. No, that's new to me. Okay, I'm going to fly through the chat because we have quite a lot of it. So, it says, make a break, few years for PES, essentially. We all think from a fan point of view, huge financial and business implications. They're taking a hit with 2021, as it will be a cheaper price, it seems, and potentially also getting less sales. So if 2022 doesn't do well, or is fundamentally broken, this has a negative financial domino effect. Exactly, 100%. Lake, good morning. Oh, did I miss much? Just the entire show. It's fine. We're just chatting about PES at the moment. The rumored / leaked PES 2021 season update. Obviously, nothing official from Konami, so all this take with huge pinch. This is just us shooting this shit based off of an Xbox leak. As it says, that said, people will continue to plow money into my club, so that might help alleviate some of the financial burdens. Choppers kindly giving an update to Lake. There's Tyson Fury and Ant Joshua in UFC 4's pre-order bonuses. Graham thinks Fury looks like Martin Sheen. PES 2021 is rumored to be a seasonal update. It's pretty much the entire show. I'd put money on PES 22 switching engine, Unreal, and that's great, but also PES team's history working with new engines scares me. Yep. Okay, that rumor I already know, and Xbox kind of already leaked it too. $25 to $30 is way too much if it's just a roster update. I disagree.
I don't think it's too much.
I
I think for a game that you're going to be playing every single minute of the year, fair enough. If it is just going to be roster update and it is going to be tweaked gameplay throughout the year, because again, I don't think they're going to leave this on the shelf for the entire year. There is no way that if there's glaring bugs in it now, like that stupid fucking animation where the ball's going behind the player and he touches it to the side without your control whatsoever. That annoys the shit out of me. There's glaring stuff. If you clearly you play PES, so stuff that you will see that will annoy you. They're not going to shelf this game for a year without tweaking it. It's impossible, because there will be something that will need to be fixed and addressed. The game isn't going to be abandoned. For a start, they have to do the live update every single week.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, where was Pez Luke's comment? I'll begrudge paying £25 for transfer updates and a My Club reset. That is a horrible stance. Not necessarily that it's your stance, but I keep seeing that thrown around, paying to get my Club reset. Just carry on playing PES 2020 if that's the case. Don't play 2021 if you don't want your My Club reset. It's not a reset, it's a completely different game. You've never taken your team forward. The point of My Club is to build a club. I know that whether you agree with that, because you can get a team that's full of world beaters in a week if you put money into the game and so on. But if you play an RTG element of series of just playing the game using the money that you get from within the game and so on, it takes you a bit of time to get there. So you're not paying to have your My Club reset. You're paying for a brand new clean slate on a new game, and that money then goes into the discs have to be pressed and shipped. And if you ever paid for a container to be shipped worldwide, that's quite a lot of money. You then have to pay for the weekly updates. So whether you like them or not, players of the week and so on, and the legends and stuff, all of those need their stats compiling and so on. So that stuff needs to be put together. The kits need to be designed as well. So yeah, whether you fucking hate the United kit that looks like a zebra, that still needs to be designed and put into the game, and then have backwards and forwards discussions with United's team there. So you might not see it as anything actually goes into the game. There's a lot that goes into just marketing a game. A shitload. Marketing, I think in general is probably the figures are probably way off. I did see something. I'm pretty sure it's like marketing is 50 to 60% of the game's budget more often than not. More money goes into marketing than in development. So just putting a game out there and doing the general marketing, which includes logistics and shipping and translations and all of that sort of stuff that goes in it. Plus, you then have to get it on the first party stores, so you need to have it approved by PlayStation and Xbox. And any sort of data updates, even if it's just data packs with new boots and stuff, having that put on a store isn't free. PlayStation doesn't just let PES put stuff onto the store; they have to pay for that sort of stuff as well. But a lot of people don't realize that. They just say, "Oh, it's free." They're just gonna roll out a game and just gonna take my 20 quid, and that's it. They're gonna cash in. A lot of money goes into that, and then there's the server costs and stuff. So yeah, there is more in it than My Club Reset. If you see anyone saying you're just paying to get your My Club Reset, that's someone that doesn't really know what goes into the development behind the game. They're looking at it as someone and if being brutally honest, it's a very selfish point of view. I get why it's being selfish because you're not happy with the game, but to say it's just a My Club Reset, that's looking at just your experience, and more often than not, that's coming from someone that has money and freedom of time, money or freedom of time to invest in My Club, to building it to a point where it's established. If you've got a roster full of players, you're more likely to go, okay, I'm just resetting it. If you've got a roster of silver balls and gold balls and a couple of black balls that you've spent some time when you can get in and around it and so on, then it's not going to be that much of an issue for you there. It's like a roster reset. All right, well, I didn't really have anything to lose anyway. It's a chance to grind again with new clubs and new potential legends and things, because the rosters and so on. I mean, if we've already seen AC Milan and Inter Milan go, if new clubs come in, that's going to be new legends. They wouldn't have carried over from 19 to 20. So why would they carry from 20 to 21? So yeah, it's a very selfish kind of standpoint, which I disagree with that one. But yeah, I understand why people would be feeling like that, but that money does go into something. And if it's 20 to 25 quid at the off, I think the chat's moving pretty fast, so it's gone now. But Asim mentioned something or maybe even Pez Luke mentioned it, but they will be losing money on that, losing money there, losing money compared to what they would obviously have got year on year. But then that going forward to 2022, if that's not great and they're losing money already, then it's just kind of like a downward spiral from there. I've got everything. Ian saying the baseball game uses Unreal Engine, so they have a bit of experience with it already. I imagine Konami uses quite a few different engines across their titles, but Asim's comment, where is it? Different team. There you go. Different teams. It's a different skill set. Even going from like whatever, I can't remember the name of the PES engine previously, to the what are we on now? Fox engine. That the teams working on that needed time. I remember there was conversations of them working with Kojima's team and stuff there to try and learn how to use it and fully use the modularized element where you can just click on the the Havoc engine, which was used for textures. Oh, not Havoc. I can't remember. There was a bunch of stuff that was used anyway that was clicked on, but it took some time to get to learn that. And anyone that played early PES on the engine will know.
Yeah, I'm very interested to know. Obviously, hopefully, we'll hear something soon about what. I mean, we're basing all of this on a leak. Obviously, it'd be nice to be able to get something sooner or later as to what the status of this is going to be. But I'd like to know people's thoughts on what they think they should have happened this year. Should they have just not brought a game out whatsoever, and we just played 2020 for a year?
I mean,
Or what? Because clearly, if they're only bringing out a seasonal update, that to me feels like they haven't got the team, they haven't got the bodies behind them to be able to look after two products at the same time. So they're putting all their efforts into getting a brand new game on the new console out the gate, so that we don't have a game like PES 2015 again on a brand new console. Because don't forget, the PlayStation 4 came out in 2013. We didn't get a PES on the PS4 until the year after. So we had a FIFA 14 on the PlayStation 4, but we didn't have a PES. We only had the Xbox and PS3 versions. So we skipped a year then. So we were still playing a PES game on the last generation a year after the console came out. So what would people have actually liked to do? Because clearly they haven't got the bodies there. And again, this is all being based on the information that all we've got is the leak from Microsoft. So this is all that we're able to base all of our opinions on. and the opinions that have been going around social media. So clearly, from whatever the leak said about the seasonal update, if they don't have the people or the bodies to be able to make 2 games, would they have just skipped this year altogether so we don't have a game and we just play PES 2020 for a year? Would people have enjoyed that more, or are they pissed off at the fact that they have to pay half the price of a AAA game, if that's the caliber that they want to go down, to be able to play a version of this game this year with live updates and new agents, with potentially new icons, new iconic moments, or new legends? I'd love to be able to know what people's opinions of that are, because mine is very simple. Take the year. Take the year. Give us what this seasonal update wants, because we're still going to be playing it. Like, I'm still going to be, we're still going to be doing a Masters of the League, regardless of what game it's on. Castolo will still be leading the line for Ice Cream Buttloads FC. But I'm very interested to know if you've got an idea of what you wanted to do with this game going forward, because for me, it's very simple. Just give us a seasonal update and concentrate your efforts on the game that's going to be coming out on the
Yeah, I agree.
on the new console, because I don't want another year where I'm still playing PES on a generation behind. As soon as PlayStation 5 comes out, I want to retire this PlayStation 4. It's on its last legs now. It doesn't even read disc properly. So
Could
the
be
sooner
worse.
I
It
can
could
get rid
die
of
when you're
this
playing
one,
PUBG.
yeah, well, the engine and everything that's on it, I just want to retire this console. And I don't want another year where I'm not playing a PES on a brand new console like we've seen with PES 2014. That for me is not that's not acceptable, and that for me is what they're trying to give us. They're trying to say we can't do 2 things at once. Let's try and get a game out for you on the brand new console that's going to be coming out. That for me is the best way. Me as a fan, that is what I want, and that is essentially what they're giving me. I don't see the other side of it, but that's
No,
just me.
I agree. I mean, if you want the next game, then that costs money to get the new engine, to go through the learnings of that. I mean, look at 2014 as an example. Then, so we switched generations in that, and we switched engines. So they didn't do that at the same time. We got Fox Engine in 2014, and then we got the Switch in 2015. Fox Engine in 2014 for me wasn't great to play. 2015 was better, but still not great to play. 2016 was where we got that, but that was almost like a 2-year switch then, because they were doing it whilst still trying to produce a full game. Take a year out and have a lesser game, put that year of learning into one, and then you kind of not giving that extended period of people. You're kind of basing it on a game that you feel is finished in 2020, and then putting that into 2021. Obviously, people may not have the opinion that 2020 is finished, because there obviously are a lot of complaints about gameplay. But yeah, it's the necessary evil. If you want true progression, then these are the eggs that need to be broken to make the omelette of the next PES. Jump back to the chat. Konami guaranteed to get less money in PES 2021 sales, but I imagine their spend on PES 2021 is minimal, so we'll still make a lot of profit. I mean, how do you know that? How do you know that? That's things like that. I mean, you imagine, so they will make a lot of profit. I don't necessarily imagine that. I imagine they will make money on it, because naturally it's business. That's what they've got to do. I don't think they'll make shitloads on it. Like I said, they've still got loads of licenses and things that need to be acknowledged. When a Konami signs a deal with a football club, they have necessarily they have stuff that they have to deliver in those contracts as well. So there's still a lot of stuff that needs to be delivered on. I don't think it's going to be any sort of cash cow for them. I mean, flipping back to one of the other things that Pedro mentioned as well. I personally think anyone that wants to take their My Club forward, I get it. You paid a lot of money for that. I get it. But would you really want to start My Club with a full team? Because you instantly see people going, my club's just the same teams anyway. Everyone's got Ronaldo, Messi, and Neymar up front with maybe a Rummenigge as a centre forward or something like that. Everyone complains about having the same teams. Would you really want to start My Club with the same team again? It's just kind of bizarre. I mean, and then where was Baxter's comment? I had more fun on My Club this year, not spending a penny and building my squad up using free scouts and the auction house only. Welsh Dragons FC. Whee! See, that for me is My Club. I mean, I don't play that much of it anyway, so probably my opinion doesn't count as much. But I wouldn't want to take that team forward with me. I mean, I like the idea of having them there, but what's the point? What's the point? You've completed it before you started it.
Yeah, that's the thing though, because the whole point for me of playing My Club is to be able to build my team up from scratch. If The game will be even more boring than it potentially might be this year if it's just a seasonal update. If you are taking the team that you've got now, that's 5-star, rated over 5,000. You've got players that are rated 103 up front. Imagine how dull that game will be for you straight out the gate if that was to move over. That doesn't make any sense to me. But again, I'm not a massive My Club player. I will not spend 5 hours a day playing My Club. It just playing online has almost never really. I only play online when I'm streaming, and nowadays I don't even play online when I'm streaming. We play Master League, so take that away, it would be a very dull experience straight out the gate. I'm still struggling to find the 25 to 30 price point being too expensive.
Yeah.
I'm still struggling to find that possible. If you are paying for something for the year, how much would people want to spend? Because that's just like me going into a shop and getting a TV. Like that video of that bloke getting a Red Bull, putting it down, is like, that's £1.20. He goes, oh,
50p.
I've got 50p, now fuck off. And then walks outside the door. That's pay what you want. That does, unfortunately, business doesn't work like that. You're still paying for the service we run this year. Again, this comes down to what would you have rather had? No game this year, so you don't pay anything. You pay nothing for PES 2020. There is no PES 2021. There's nothing whatsoever. You don't pay anything this year, and you carry on playing PES 2020 if you think it's going to be exactly the same. No iconic moments, no legends, no nothing. You just play PES 2020 for the rest of the year until PES 2022 comes out. Or you pay your little small thing. I think 25 quid is a perfect price point if that's what they're going to come out of. If it is the 25th anniversary, so if it's 25 quid, do you know what I mean? Just take that. I think that's perfect.
Yeah, there was a comment from Massive on price. I'm just trying to find it, but the chat keeps scrolling. Where was it?
You see, £10, mate. I don't think that's realistic. £20 good. I like £20. That feels more realistic. If you're getting another 12 months out of a game, £20 is realistic. £10 for full existing game owners, £20 for new. That's a good model. I like that.
But personally, I would do an update for everyone who owns 2020 to 2021 for £10 to £15 with the Mad Club reset, etc., and release a boxed copy for 2021 season update for £25 to £30. I mean, I'd agree with all of that. I would be happy enough if it was 25 to 30 quid boxed, jobs are good, or digital. Obviously, digital costs more, but if it was the same sort of price was aligned, I'd be fine with that. I would be happy if there was a discount for people that have had it already. I can't see there being that much. I mean, I would love for there to be that much, but yeah, I mean, that would, either of those would work for me. 10 to 15 or just to 25 across the board is fine by me in terms of what I'm getting content wise out of that. Like I say, the thing we have to kind of obviously take with this, because I'm going to miss a lot of comments, so apologies if anyone has mentioned anything that they do want to discuss in particular, and it's rather than it just been throw out a comment, then let me know and I'll jump back up. I'll just put it again in the chat. I'm just trying to catch up with it. Carson says £10, Baxter says £20, Madge says £5. Carson says £10 for existing full game, 20 for new. So yeah, I mean, I agree with these. The fact that I think we all can agree on the fact that if they release a £45 game and it's a season update, we wouldn't be happy with it. The fact that
FIFA have been doing that on the Switch for their legacy version. It's still paying full price, which is why I've not bought one for 2 years.
So there is. Let's see if it's mentioned in this bit.
See, Carson's comment there says, "Thing is, Bibby, it's not £25 for a new game. I can pay nothing and get the same graphics, have an existing team packed with legends. To play £25 to reset my club isn't acceptable. Don't buy it then."
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. That's it. Don't just vote with your wallet and don't pick it up. The thing there though is that you've got
no one's forcing you to.
You've got an existing team packed with legends and everything, but that guy who just wants to play when United signed Jadon Sancho and they want him in the kits and stuff, which you've already got because you're hardcore PES, and that's the difference. Is there's the difference is we have to look at this as well as the bigger picture. We are all in here because we're all PES nerds, and it's simple as that. We've got option files installed. We've all probably got multiple legends or iconic moments players. There was another comment about iconic moments, which I'll come back to in a second. So we've got that sort of stuff. So there's more there for us. But some average Joe that just thinks, oh, okay, football's been gone for a year and it's now starting to come back. I want to play some myself. And there's a new game with fully updated rosters and everything that's only 20, 25 quid. Yeah, boy, I'll get into that. I mean, that's to say as well. I mean, the gameplay is the same, and there was a comment about same award-winning gameplay. Obviously, a lot of people saying that tongue in cheek, which I understand. I play the game. I know what you say. But I wouldn't be surprised if there isn't some tweaks because we've had patches to the game as we go on anyway. I wouldn't be surprised if there isn't that level of stuff there happening to that. By iterating on the game isn't the same as reinventing the game. So I'd be surprised if there's no tweaks to it whatsoever.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is other people out there that 20 to 25 quid for a game where you start from scratch and you don't have it already completed. I mean, the analogy of keeping your team stacked full of legends and stuff is you're looking at that from someone that's looking at it from a transactional point of view. If someone said to you, do you want to stick with The Last of Us or do you want to pay for another story where you start it from it and you learn it as you go? A lot of people would want to go through the process of that again. I know that's a flawed analogy, but the point being that people play PES from the beginning to the end because they want to go through that progression, like a Master League or in a My Club or become a legend. And if you've already completed My Club, yeah, you can bin off all your players and start again in PES 2020, or you could just do it in 2021. So there's a lot of people out there that want to start again. So I think we have to kind of be aware of the fact that we're coming from a privileged position in the fact that you've got a team stacked full of players. So if you're thinking that paying to reset that isn't acceptable, then just don't do it. Just stick with what you've got there. You're in the privileged position of having got to that point. A lot of people won't be, so they don't have that as an issue. Probably more people won't be in that position. So PES being updated at a lower price gives a good in for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, if I would absolutely agree that £25 or £30 or £35, whatever it's going to be, would be would be a lot of money if it was just going to be the same thing this year again. The exact same teams, just different just different rosters, and different kits, things like that in the game. That would be a lot of money. However, we all know there's going to be brand new agents in there. There's going to be iconic moments. There's going to be the cost to run the servers and things like that. If that was the case and all those things didn't exist and wasn't going to happen this year, the live updates, whatever else is going to be coming with it, then I would agree that's going to be a lot. But for the sake of having the game playable online, in some, well, in my opinion, compared to some of people's opinions, obviously they don't deem it to be playable online. But if I was to be able to play a game for a year online and I'm getting all of that, £20 for me, again, this is all my personal opinions, for me is a fair price if I'm going to be playing the game again for another year. I don't see how £5 or £10 is a fair price for you to be able to do that.
I mean, there's another comment there.
That's an indie game price.
That is.
Do you know what I mean?
That's a Far Cry 5 that's been out for a full year when the next game is coming, a couple of years when the next game is coming out, kind of price. PES 2021 being at that sort of price range is probably too discounted. I agree with that. But where asking for the comment? There they go. The My Club reset has to be done, by the way. Legend player deals, club deals, and other rights wise, it has to be done. I mean, there's that as well. Players that are playing are covered by the FIFA Pro licenses. All legends and stuff have individual contracts or club deals if they're tied to one of the partner clubs and stuff. So yeah, 100% has to be done. It's not just like it's a case of, oh yeah, we're getting rid of it.
I've been holding this piss in for about 15 minutes. I need to go to the toilet, but back in a second.
No, you don't. You stay there.
Piss off.
Baxter says, I'm sticking my PS4 and 5 now as my mates play it on this platform. However, do you think the next gen will finally bring option files to Xbox? Wouldn't expect it, says Magic Man. Madness, mate. Shane Reeler says Baxter. Yeah, that's the thing. It's a hardware issue. It's not so much a PES thing. That's an Xbox thing. So it's possible, but only if Xbox systems allow that. But Xbox doesn't allow that on the current gen. So you've got to kind of feel that what they do and works for them from probably, I'd imagine it's probably a security thing that they have it in and don't have ways for us to get around it with option files and stuff. I imagine if that's the case, if it is something based on security, then they won't weaken that for the next one. Lake says, like I said in a stream earlier, I will happy to play PES 2020 2.0 for a year, and if this means that we'll get a whole new PES game for PS5. Yeah, I mean that's the thing that comes with it too. Is 20 quid-ish, 25, 30 quid, whatever it is, in that sort of ballpark. It's not a monumental amount of money. It's definitely less than it would be. And not only that, if you think of PES comes out at, I don't know, 45 quid, and then it drops down to that anyway. Even if it does come out at 20, 25 quid, even if you just sit on that for a little bit, is the price going to come down anyway? And if a 40 quid game comes down to 20 quid, is a 20 quid game going to come down to 10 quid anyway? So is that too? I'm saying all this from the point of that I will be playing PES on a PlayStation off stream as I do, but on stream we're playing our Master League on PC. We're probably just going to stick with Master League for another year rather than so we can get a full year of narrative out of it rather than stopping anyway. But yeah, I've completely lost myself on a tangent there. I guess ultimately for Michael players, if they pay for 2021 My Club and it doesn't change from 2020, e.g. very little content find only agents, then people will think £25 was a waste of money. But we don't know what they're going to do. I mean, some people will think £25 is a waste of money. Some people will go through the whole year and get more than £25 worth of time in it. I mean, how much is your time worth? Are you worth £10 an hour? If that's the case, then you only need 2.5 hours with it. Is it less than that? Is it a pound an hour?